I was a part of a sorority on campus called Gamma Sigma. I was an orientation leader as well as a peer leader. And I think that's it.
I have to admit, that's a lot of things you've done. So, well, first I do just want to ask.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad that someone else has the exact same major.
Woo!
Criminology is the best one.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. What grade are you in? Or like
Sophomore.
sophomore. Okay, so you're just now starting to get into it.
Yes.
Who's your favorite
And
professor? Be honest.
I really like Wall's classes.
Okay. I will have to say Hollingsworth. He's my man. Love his classes.
As you see, funnily enough, this semester I
Yeah.
have Wallet's Sequest.
Yes.
I have yet to have Hollingsworth.
Really, I love
It's
Hollingsworth just because he does some niche, I think classes. Like I took a Native American class with him, which was really neat. We took women in crime with him, so he does some really cool, particular topics that are very interesting. And Seacrest is good too. I ended up taking a couple classes with her, and she's hardcore, but she definitely was or that professor that really pushed me in college.
everyone everyone I know keeps saying he is pretty hard,
Uh huh.
but like so far I haven't had too many like sins of it being hard. It seemed
Yeah.
pretty easy in my opinion.
Yeah. I took upper with her, and so I think maybe she kind of like eases you in and then she slowly gets harder and harder and harder. I think that's the same with like Wall and Hollingsworth and stuff. Is I think they try to ease y'all in, and then I swear, like
Mm,
your junior senior year, it's like a whole different professor. Like, oh my gosh, y'all are hard.
that's fair. That could be it. They lure me in with the sweet tricks, and next thing I
Oh
know,
yeah, maybe she just
20
got a
page
soft
paper.
spot all of a sudden. That could be it too.
Yeah. All right. Next question. How would you describe your time at McMurray? And in your opinion, what stands out about this place the most?
So I would have to describe my time as fast. So I graduated McMurray in 2 years. So I was very
Mm,
in, very out. And that was just because I graduated with my associate's degree in high school. And so I felt like my time at McMurray was like very every single day I had something to do because I was like, I'm gonna make every moment that I'm here count. And I
hmm
wasn't gonna let myself have free time because I was like, I have to experience everything in a short amount of 2 years. Um, I enjoyed my time at McMurray, and I think really getting into those organizations and part of those clubs have really brought me out of my shell. I wasn't very talkative, and I still really am not the best. But my social battery was definitely low when I first came in as a freshman. I started joining more stuff, more people started inviting me, and I said, okay, now I can start joining things. Now I can be more involved. Now I can start really enjoying my college years. So if I had to describe it, I would have to say it was fast and furious.
Yeah, I could really imagine that. Doing all of that within 2 years?
Yes.
I am honestly impressed.
Thank you.
Mhm. Next question. Would you say Trio played a big part in helping you do McMurray and getting you to where you are now?
Okay, so I didn't start out in the trio program actually.
Mm,
So my very first year, I remember meeting Dr. T and Dr. T being like, "You should be in trio," and I was like, "No, I don't need that. I don't need that right now." And I just kept remembering like seeing trio do all the events my freshman year and everything. I was like, "Man, I should have joined." Like I was
yeah.
stupid in my part, and I remember I was an orientation leader, and Trio talks to all the kids during SOAR. And I got to talking with Dr. T, and she said, "Hey, you're the kid who didn't finish your application last year." And I said, "Yes, I am that kid who didn't finish their application." And so she's like, "Please, please, right now on your phone, like, turn in your application." I was like, "Okay, sounds great." So I turned in my application, didn't think much of it. And the next thing you know, it's like next day, Dr. T's like, "Hey, can you go on a Zoom? Let's have a meeting right now." And so we met. everything was great. And so I actually wasn't in trio until like the last year. And honestly, I don't know why I was so stupid my freshman year. I should have joined way earlier. And I just remember the beginning of the school year, I'm walking to the poster's office, just brand new in trio, and she goes, "Hey, Kailey," and I said, "Yes," and she goes, "You want to be a trio tutor?" Mind this, I've never even seen the trio lab, and now all of a sudden I'm a trio tutor, and I was like, "Sure." So I ended up becoming a trio tutor, and that changed my world because I wasn't so used to keeping on tabs with everyone, and I was like a little bit like, "Hey, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you get your assignment done? Did you do this? Come by my lab. Come do this." And so I really got to meet a whole different set of kids within Trio that I never really got to see at McMurray. And honestly, and Dr. T will say this, without Dr. T, I probably wouldn't even made it to grad school because I remember with my many, many, many different talks with Dr. T, just sitting in her office, probably crying. 9 out of 10 times I probably was. And she goes, "Are you going to apply to grad school?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "You should apply to grad school." And I'm like, "No, I'm too dumb for that." And the next day, she texts me. She goes, "Did you apply to grad school yet?" I'm like, "No." And then she goes, "We need to have a meeting." And so we have another meeting. She goes, "No, you're going to apply to grad school." So she convinces me to apply to grad school. I remember me and her talking about all these different schools. I ended up going on a Texas Tech trip. We started talking about it. And I just remember that when my acceptance came in for Hardin Simmons, I think she was probably one of the very first people I texted because I was like, I am smart. I did get accepted. And so I think without Trio, I don't think I would have ever applied. And I just didn't think I had really that confidence in myself. I knew I was smart, but I didn't believe I was smart enough to do something as in getting your master's degree. And so without Trio, probably wouldn't have done it. So there's a
No,
short
I get that.
story.
Oh yeah, I get it. Like I know I am currently a peer leader for Trio. If I recall the exact way that happened, I was an orientation lead at the time.
Uh-huh.
I had just fallen while I was telling some people where to go. It was the big part where all the clubs and ones there. I think, if I recall, I was going from esports to so crim, and I had tripped like a couple of minutes before. I just saw Dr. TT said, "Hey, Dwayne, do you want to be a peer? Sorry, a peer leader?
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's still a little bit too dazed." I said, "Yeah, sure." And now I do that.
Yeah, and it's fun. I enjoyed my time, and I would always tell Dr. T how frustrated I was because students never came to me because I feel like with our major, it's kind of niche in a way. And so I would always be like, why won't anybody see me? Like, am I scary? Like, is it my smile? Like, tell me what's wrong with me, Dr. T. And she'd be like, "No, Kailey, it's not you." And then around finals or midterms, everyone would start to see me. And I'm like, where were y'all all year? Or where were y'all all semester? And now you're going to come see me?
To be fair, I kind of understand it. Like,
Yeah.
once again, I think I'm pretty good at what I do, don't need help or anything. But I noticed when finals or midterms happen, I
Yeah.
see people I haven't seen since the first week of school in class.
Honestly, there would be those classes with like 30 plus people. You wouldn't see 30 plus people until the end of the like semester. You would have like
Mhm.
five throughout the year. I remember there was multiple times, especially in Hollingsworth classes, he would just look around and be like, "Where is everybody?" And he'd be like, I guess go home. Thanks for showing up." Like, so
Yeah, I get that. I know now a lot of times it's they ask a question and no one answers.
yeah.
So it's just awkward silence. That's always fun.
My favorite is when like they're looking around and they're like, "Who should you pick?" And you slowly bring your head down, like, "Don't pick me, please." I sat in the back because I was like, I do not want to be called on. And actually, in grad school, we do cold calls all the time. And I'm still that person in the back that's like, please do not pick me. Thank you.
I sit in the front personally.
Really? Oh no.
Yeah, like if you ask a question and I know it, I'll answer it. But every now and then, there's that one question I don't know, and they look at me for an answer, and I just had to admit I don't know.
I just feel like sometimes they're also like they're wanting you to contemplate your answer as well. Like they're like, really? You sure? And you're like, I think maybe,
I mean,
possibly.
I like things like that. I can,
Yeah.
for the most part, I can kind of defend my answer.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I think the class I've always had the hardest time kind of answering questions in is Wallace because
Okay.
I'm not very good with names or dates.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can take an event, but
Mhm.
you flat put on screen and tell me and ask me who is this? I don't know.
See, that was for me. I took abnormal psychology with Dr. Sneller, and that was me in that class because you have to go through the DSM, and he's like talking about all these different um just all these things and within the DSM, and I'm like, oh, I know it, I know it, I know it, and then you just sit there and you're like, it's the thing with the thing on the page of this page, and but it's up at the very top. I know it. It's bolded, and he's looking at you like, there's a name. What's the name? And like those type of classes with like a whole bunch of like dates and people, it's frustrating. I'm actually taking a forensic entomology class. I finished it yesterday. And
Hmm.
forensic entomology is the study of forensics and insects. And so the beginning of my class, I had to learn all the insect names and their actual scientific names.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
It was, especially when I'm not very good at pronunciation, like pronunciating things, and I would be like so for das, and my professor would be like blah 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 blah, and I'm like, yeah, that one,
I get that.
it's that
Words are not my
one.
strong suit either.
But
Actually, kind of smoothly brings me to my next question. What are you studying in your grad program, and what made
okay,
you choose that field?
Okay, so I go to Hart and Simmons, and I'm getting a master's degree in criminal justice. So at Hart and Simmons, there's different emphasis or like track programs that you can do. I'm doing the general track, which just means that I take a little bit of everything. So they have, and please do not quote me on this. I cannot remember all of them. You have forensics, and then you have law, and I'm trying to think. There's like one more. It's like courtroom something something or something another. So I take a general track, which means I take a little bit of each. So
Hmm.
for instance, like I've taken forensic etymology, forensic anthropology. I've also taken like courtroom testimony. I've taken like a couple philosophy classes, and it's just kind of like a general, because when I applied to grad school, I said, yay, I applied to grad school, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do just yet. And
Yeah.
so I went more of that general track to figure out what I really loved about criminal justice. So,
Okay. So this is not on the list, but I
okay.
need to know.
Yes.
So you're doing criminal justice, like your
Uh-huh.
big focus.
Uh-huh.
Where does forensics and anthropology kind of fit in? Or are there, I could be wrong, but are there
Okay.
cases where we have to investigate a bug's death?
Okay, so you have to remember at McMurray that we have criminology. So do you
Hmm.
know what criminology, like the definition is? I'm gonna test you right now.
It's the study of crime,
It's the study
right?
of crime, right? So criminal justice can be a little bit different. So you have to think of criminal justice as more of a wider net, whereas criminology is like a smaller pond. So criminal justice is, while it's the study of crime, it's also other things such as like forensics or law or courtroom testimony, or it can also just be professionalism. It's just different tracks within police departments. So
Okay.
forensics is its own separate emphasis track. So that's why it's all separate. And within forensics, you can take certain classes. So I've taken forensic anthropology. Do you know what forensic anthropology is?
Of course, I'm going to go on my thing, what you just said. Forensics, well, forensics is science stuff,
Kind of.
anthropology.
Have you ever watched the show Bones?
No, but if I had to guess, it includes studying bones.
Exactly. It includes like the setting of skeletal remains. Forensic etymology is the study of obviously insects and bugs. I've also taken just death scene investigations, which
Hmm.
was a really neat class. I ended up, my final was I got to view a couple actually not a couple, it was one crime scene from Abilene, and I was given the crime scene photos, but I wasn't given the outcome. And so on one of my research papers towards the end, I had to create the ending. And so within all the pictures, I had to determine what happened, like the amount of blood loss, or like the glass was shattered, there was like time of death. Like I had to determine all
Hmm.
that from just pictures. And so death scene investigations was really cool just because my professor used a lot of her crime scene photos from when she worked with forensics in Abilene. So there was a lot of cool cases I got to work on that were in Abilene.
That is honestly pretty cool. I have to admit,
Yes.
I'm going to look into that in like 2 years.
I love it. It's honestly, it's made me come out of my box a little bit because I had definitely a narrow way of thinking things. And so now I'm probably not your friend when it comes to murder shows because I'm like, that's inaccurate. It would have been a blood spatter if it was this. Or no, it would have been a pool splatter. Like, I will correct the TV shows or the crime documentaries. And because of, especially my forensic classes, like I've learned about ballistics, tire tracks, how to calculate PMI, which is post modern indicators. Like, I have been really fascinated over it. I'm not very good at it, but I love it.
Mm.
And it has definitely turned me into a little bit of a buzzkill. Definitely.
No, I get that. I've always been a buzzkill. Alright, I'm go to my next question now. From what you've told me and everything, you were involved in a lot during your time at McMurray.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, how were you able to balance everything?
Okay, if we're being honest, I didn't. I I just felt like I needed. Oh wait, I forgot to. I was part of MSG as well. I was in McMurray Student Government. That's the other thing I was forgetting. Um, so I think a lot of my time at Trio was really that kept me balanced because I always had that set time where I had my tutoring. And so while that was probably only my only free time out of my whole entire day, it was like that
Hmm.
one point where I could sit there. If nobody was there, I could just do my work. If I needed to talk to Dr. T, I'd bang at her door until she let me in. um that was really my saving grace, was just sitting there in the Trio lab for just an hour a day, if that's all I could do, and just breathe. And once I left the Trio lab, then I would go like a crazy person and get everything done, and then sometimes come back to the Trio lab and then breathe and then leave and then probably go to bed because I was tired. So I wasn't the best as organized, or oh, I cannot talk to. I wasn't very good at organizing my time very well, but I did try to spend like at least an hour or 45 minutes within my day just to take a breath and go, okay, so I need to get this done. I need to get this done, but I can do that later. Right now, I'm going to just spend some time for myself because, especially with like swim practices and MSG on Mondays and being part of a sorority, it was a lot. And so you find yourself being so stretched thin and you don't have time for yourself. And so I viewed kind of being that tutor as like my time to just sit there and just chill out. Like there would be some times where I just sit there in the chair and probably stare at the wall because I just needed it that day.
You know, I get it. It's like the 2 year lab acting as like a grounding force to you.
Yes. It
I
it
get it.
really was. There'd be some days where they would like close for lunch, and I would just sit there and be like, "Let me in, let me in. I need to decompress." But
I get it. But yeah, like I'm saying, it's good that it was able to act as that place for you.
hmm
I know personally that someone's kind of been doing this podcast thing for like almost 2 semesters at this point.
yeah,
It really did a lot for me.
yeah,
Like just kind of focusing because my
hmm
first semester, not gonna lie, I was like a recluse.
yeah,
If I wasn't if I wasn't in class eating, I was probably in my room.
yeah,
And it let me phrase that. I'm doing so much better
yeah.
now that I'm moving around.
hmm
I just have something to do with my life.
Right. I get that. Like, there'd be sometimes where Dr. D would come in and she'll be like, "Hey, can you like do something with the cricket? Are you busy?" And I'd be like, "Yes, let me do that." And I would just sit there because unlike you, we had that different perspective. I just felt like I was around people too much. And so I would sit there, like I would turn off all the lights and I would mess with the cricket machine. Or I would sit in their lights and like someone would like slowly open the door and I'm like, that lights.
That sounds hilarious.
But and I completely understand that. They're like kind of going back to what I said originally is I've met some people in Trio that I never saw on campus and you probably would have been one of them like who just typically aren't a part of anything but we have that common ground like Trio. And
Yeah.
it for instance you said you did esports, right? Or do you
Yes.
still do it?
Y- yeah, this semester I'm kind of in a lot.
Okay. So
Esports, Saga, SoCram, Trio Club, and I
nice.
was Trio too.
See, and like that's the thing is like esports and swimming and like I love how that trio we can just come together and we can find at least that middle ground because like you said I've met people that I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a blah 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 major, you're on a whole other side of the building, that's so cool. Or I
Yeah.
would meet like one person, they're like, oh, I'm on the track team, and I'm like, I can't run, good for you, like I die, you'd laugh at me, but I just think that Trio has always been like that like place where I could just meet in the middle and I can just have some common ground with people. I can just chill out. I don't have to be the most socialist butterfly there. I can just be silent for once. And there was a lot of people that let me be silent. There'd be a couple people from the like trio who'd see me in the lab and then they'd see me out and they're like, "You talk a lot. You don't do that in the lab." I'm like, "I know."
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. We can add it as like our official title,
Yeah.
Trio, the Great Unifier.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, we'll get that official. Alrighty. Next question. Now that you are in grad school, do you
Mhm.
still use some of the same skills you learned back at McMurray?
I think one of the skills is communication. So when I first started at McMurray, I felt like my professors were very upfront. They were very good on communication and they wanted communication with us.
Hmm.
And so they were constantly emailing you, talking to you. And what I loved about McMurray is that I could have a conversation with a professor and they might say something that I really liked, and then I'd probably go do some research on it, and then I'd be like, "Hey, Hollingsworth, before you leave, can we talk about this?" And so it was really nice to have that personal aspect and comfortableness to email my professors whenever I felt like it. And so at Hardin Simmons, I really took that to heart. And like I introduced myself right on the bat. I wanted to talk. I emailed constantly. I wasn't afraid of reaching out. And I think that's really just because like McMurray just from the get-go was like, this is what you need to do. You need to communicate. You need to make sure like you're there every single day, that you are setting a presence that you're here. And so as soon as I got to Hart Simmons, I came in strong. I was like, I am here and you will hear from me. And so I think that's just one of the things, as well as like I felt like McMurray set that foundational knowledge, and we'll be talking about a couple things within my criminology or any of like my philosophy classes, and I'll be like, Dr. Wall talked about that. And I would go back and I would look at some of my essays, or I would look at some of the PowerPoints because I saved them, and I'd be like, hey, look, I remember this. And I would go over it, and then I would write it all down for the next day. And so I'm like ready. So I already knew more than my classmates. And so it really set that foundational knowledge. I wasn't lost when I went to grad school. It wasn't like it was this big unknown, you know, like
Yeah.
they prepared me well for my 2 years of being there. They prepared me enough to feel confident within my educational journey.
That is pretty good, I have to say. I've come to learn how important communication is and can be, and I don't think it's just, emailing professors. Like, you can even take it to just answering questions in class,
Yes.
maybe going to a couple of events. I know a lot of people say that one of the biggest things you have to learn in college is networking.
Yes.
Your professors aren't going to remember you if you never do anything.
Yes. And I just, like I said, I always loved how my professors, if I wasn't there, they'd be like, hey, where were you? Or when I had a swim meet and I'd be gone for a couple of days, they would always be like, hey, how did you do? Like, let's talk about it, you know? Or they'll be like, hey, did you see that this changed? And we'll talk about it. And like, I really carry that on because I really set in stone with my now professors, like, this is who I am. I am a very headstrong, very overly talkative sometimes, and I'm a terrible speller. I'm sorry.
God, spelling.
And this is me, and you're gonna accept me. And like, I'll have professors that will be like, hey, call me. And it's like, I felt like since I established that from the get-go, that I am wanting to communicate, I'm wanting to establish that relationship, that my professors are more willing to just kind of actually talk to me.
That is amazing. Alright. And I think our final question for today is, what is one piece of advice you'd give to a current McMurray student who are thinking about grad school and next steps after graduation?
um so as far as like any advice as far as McMurray goes, I would say take a deep breath, let it in, let it out. Not everything has to be a race. That it's okay to slow down for once and enjoy the moments that you have, because um, you look back at it and you always wonder, oh, what if I did this? Or what if I did that? And so you want to leave McMurray thinking, I did everything that I could, and there's nothing I could have gave or given. And as far as grad school, I say do it. I am a big firm believer on doing things out of spite. And so if you have to tell yourself everybody is not wanting you to go to grad school to go cheer to grad school, then tell everybody hates you and nobody wants you to get into grad school, and do that out of spite, because I think that grad school has been this big opportunity for me that's opened a lot of doors that necessarily wouldn't have happened if I just went for my bachelor's degree. And to have full confidence in yourself. Like I said, I am a firm believer, even though I am a very big negative Nelly, is that you need a Dr. T on your little shoulder saying, did you apply to grad school? Did you do it? Apply to grad school. You're smart enough. You can do this. And like I said, if you have to fuel that passion into anger just to be out of spite of everybody, you know, that one friend that's like,
Mhm.
really? You really want to do that? Take that, shove it down real deep, and you're going to fill out that application. And when you get accepted, you can just shove it in their face and be like, I did this. Because at the end of the day, you're doing this for you, not for others. And so you are smart, you are capable, and you are, like I said, smarter than you could ever realize.
Get that. Spite is one of the greatest motivators.
Yes, I'm telling you. Like I said, if you have to believe the whole world hates you to fill out that application just to prove everyone wrong, do it. Because I I don't know where I would be without it. Like, I have grown so much. And like I said, I think if you can't do it out of spite, then you need to bang on Mr. Dr. T's door and be like, hey, you are going to be my little person who's going to tell me to apply, apply, apply until I finally apply. And then when that letter comes in, then I'll let you know how I did, because you never know you're capable of doing something until you've done it. Who says that you can't get into grad school if you haven't applied? You have to actually do it. You can't just say you're not going to and you won't.
Exactly. The gambler me always says, sometimes you just gotta go all in.
Yes. And like I was talking to Dr. T, and we've talked about like different like grad schools, and when you're looking into grad schools depending on like your major, like there's different requirements, and it's I think one of the biggest things is that I decided very last minute I was going to go into grad school because of my self-confidence issues. And so I was like, okay, I can't take the whatever, I think whatever blah 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 test. I think it's something with a G. And she was like, okay, you need to look for schools that don't have that test. A lot of schools are getting rid of it. This school, this school, this school, this school, you can do this, you can do that. And I believe that there's just so much more options nowadays where it's so much more accessible to actually get into grad school. For instance, like if you're not a good test taker, look at a school that's more of an essay based school. So I had to write a essay. It was a couple pages long, and I rather write an essay over a test because I believe my knowledge and everything that I've learned is more from a piece of paper than on a test. And so don't let something as simple as a test or questions hold you back. If it matters to you and you feel that confidence that you can do it, you're going to find any way to do it. And whether that's a thesis program, a non-thesis program, whether it's fully online, hybrid, you will make it work. You just have to really believe in yourself. And that's very cheesy, but it's the truth.
No, I agree. Whenever in doubt, believe in the you that believes in you.
Yes.
Alright, that is all I have for you today. Is there anything you wanna end it off with?
Go to Dr. T's office. She's fine.
I agree with
Go
that.
bother
I'm in
her.
her office right now.
Go bother her. She loves to be bothered.
It's even better if you're funny.
It's
You both
even
get a
better when
laugh
you're
out of it.
crying some days.
Yep. Alright.
Thank you
Then
so much.
this will be the end of the Trio Speaks podcast today. Hope everyone has a marvelous day and even better week. Bye bye.
Bye.